Doreen Granpeesheh is the
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen Granpeesheh.
Dr. Granpeesheh.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh is a visionary in the field of autism. Now you can ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen.
Our dear friend Johanny has written in and said, my 9-year-old son will be starting 4th grade next week. We're still struggling making friends and asking to play properly. For example, we're at the shore last week and 2 boys were playing in the ocean. He wanted to play. I told him to go ask. He said, hi, this is my mom, Johanny. Her phone number is, and told him. He said, the kids look so confused. I stepped in and said he wants to play with you. It didn't go well. I worry this is happening at school too. Can we get the school to support him during recess or lunch? I wish I was a fly on the wall to see what is happening so I can figure it out and figure out how to help. Suggestions. And thanks in advance for all that you both do. I'm sending you hugs. That's so sweet that that's what he went up and said to them.
Yeah. Yes. So, you know, it's so often I see our kids trying to interact with the tools that they have, right? They don't know. So this is what's really, it's a great question, Johanny. Thank you for asking this. And it's so important for all of us to realize that playing is a very complicated skill. It's not an easy thing, right? It's not like we're just imitating some motor movements or something. Actually, there's a lot involved in playing, even if it's a very young child. And your child is starting 4th grade, so that means he's probably somewhere around 10 or 11 years old. By that age, play has become extremely sophisticated. So let's talk about that for a minute. So just playing with other kids involves, first of all, knowing, because these are all the things that, Johanny, you'd want to teach him ahead of time. Or if you have ABA or perhaps someone if you ask the school, maybe they are providing the ABA, I'm not sure, but these are the types of kind of prep skills that we teach our kids so that when they go to school, they are successful in these types of situations, right? So first of all, your child needs to know the different types of games, right? That's the simplest one, like chase or, you know, I don't know, sports that they play or whatever games that they're playing on the playgrounds. Your child needs to master those. Secondly, your child needs to know things like taking turns. It's my turn versus your turn. And believe me, there's lots of different situations that that make it different in taking turns. So that's the second thing. Third thing is they need to know conversation to some extent. So they need to know how to approach others, which would have been a skill that would have been very useful to your child in this scenario. They need to know the types of questions that you ask in order to engage with one person as opposed to engaging with a group of kids. They need to know how to repair the situation, because sometimes things fail like this, and how you can change the subject and now ask in a different way. They need to know how to change the subject so that the subject is something that they're good at interacting about. There's lots of different things. They need to know how to, you know, which group to approach. Like, is it better to approach children that are about my age playing an activity that I'm good at, or another group, so on. So all of these types of things should be things that your team kind of works on before your child is put in this situation. And when they're in this situation, then hopefully there's an adult there, like you were, who can mediate and say, you know, can you guys play whatever, hide and seek? He really would love to play with you guys. That's a fun game. So our kids will not be able to go in and do this on their own. They need all the skills that are involved. You know, I started learning about this very early on. It was my dissertation. My dissertation, when I was getting my doctorate back in the 80s, was about this subject. It was
really?
It was about how teaching preschool games can increase social behavior. And it was really interesting.
How did I not know this ever?
Oh, you didn't know that?
No,
okay.
I didn't know that. That's fascinating.
Yeah. So, and so I would teach these different children preschool games like Duck, Duck, Goose and, Ring Around Rosie and all this sort of stuff. And then we would go to the schools and observe and see whether or not, first of all, it generalized, and secondly, whether or not it would increase their ability to interact.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting because the children, they reacted differently. If the child had social conversation, then this skill would really help them significantly. If they didn't have social conversation, it didn't matter if I taught them 10 games, it wouldn't be effective because knowing the game didn't help them. They still stood out. They still didn't know how to ask. They still didn't know how to ask if they could play or initiate the game or that sort of thing. So it's important to have both aspects, the content as well as the social interaction skills. And Johanna, you know that we've written a ton of these types of kind of social interaction, social conversation lessons in skills, and also at the back of our book, the card book, so you can always look there and find lessons.
Okay, I have two things I want to add to this. And first of all, as she said, skillsforautism.com. I want to say that we talked a little bit last week about, I did a parent-to-parent talk about getting an aid and about going back to school, both of those things. And in both of them, we talked about the playground. And you might want to go back and look, but I'm going to give you just the smallest thing, that IDEA has language in it that says that the school has to be giving your child an opportunity to, a floor of opportunity to access the curriculum to help them with their getting a job and lifelong skills, even if they're a kindergartner.
Right.
Which means that what they're doing on the playground is covered under IDEA. The way that you get an aid on the playground, during the playground, is that you put a goal into the IEP that can only be met on the playground.
Right.
So you write, you go into your IEP meeting and say, here are 3 goals that I've written that I would like to see him be on the playground, because we're seeing that this is an issue for him and it will affect him lifelong. And then they will start a process of looking at that, and it will force them to have to put someone who has eyes on it who can facilitate. So that's the shortcut to that. What we did when we did that, because I went in with skills, skills will actually, if you see the lesson and you're like, I would like this lesson to be put in, there's a button that you can push that turns it into an IEP goal. And then it spits it out and you take it to the IEP meeting. And I did that. And they were like, oh, is that a problem? Yes. And they said, oh, well, then we should, before we can do anything, we have to have him evaluated by a recreational therapist. And I said, what is that? Is that a thing? And it led to the most beautiful stuff, you guys. The recreational therapist came in, evaluated him. They saw that he needed recreational therapy. So the person would come and not only work with him, but would meet with the teacher and do a lesson for the whole class. The teacher loved it, the students loved it, the kids all play, because it's not just our kids. You have to teach the other little miscreants how to react to our kids, right? And they don't know how to, they haven't been taught manners. I'm sorry, I'm keeping it real here, but I love kids, right? And I used to be a teacher, but they have not been taught things. And so the recreational therapist taught all the kids, and they all played better on the playground.
Of course.
Win! So all of that was important. But I remember when you talk about all those lessons about joining a conversation and group, and I got to tell you, it's not sexy. And as parents, we go, I can't even. And when they're teaching it, it seems like, what are we doing here? But then the first day of junior high, when my son went to junior high, and after months of fighting with them because the school did not want to send him to, even though he had been included in mainstream the entire time in grade school, they did not want him to do that for junior high. They wanted to put him into a special day class. And I came to you and I said, I don't know what to do. And you said you would kick me with one of your pointed shoes if I let them put him in a special day class. And I said their biggest argument was he's not going to be able to handle the social game and he's going to be made fun of. And you said to me, he's earned the right to figure it out. And so I was like, I don't know if he's ready. And you said, I will kick you with my pointed shoe. And because we were friends, she doesn't threaten everybody with that, right? So my husband and I, nobody else does this, but we did this. We took him to junior high and walked onto the campus with him the first day. And there was a circle of people that were standing together, kids that were standing together. And I was like, you need to be over here. And my son dismissed me, walked up, kind of angled himself in to get into the group, listened to what they were saying, eventually pitched his voice up to add something, reacted to something that somebody was saying there, and then eventually said, "Hey guys, it was great seeing you, I gotta go," and left and went to another group and did the same thing in another group. And it was textbook, all of those little lessons, joining the conversation, repairing a conversation when somebody missed something.
Right.
All of these things that I didn't think were sexy that he put all together on that day. I cried. I was walking out the gate and I was calling back to the office and saying, keep doing what you do because it works.
Yeah.
It was the master class in why do you need to learn all of those things.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say that. What
so
she
true.
said is brilliant, and it can be taught, but you have to, you fight for a goal.
It's a lot.
It is.
Yeah.
It
and
is.
it's just important. It's one of those things where people ask Shannon, like, but he didn't get it. It's like, we never want to blame the child, right? If you don't give the child the tools, all these different things, then I always give the example, if I was in China and I was expected to do some sort of, cultural routine or something that I had absolutely no idea how to do, I also would not be successful.
Yeah.
So it's important to learn all the subsections of this
Well,
task.
and she's using skills. You're so good. And they're working on all of these things, but they're a little bit hung up on can't repair the conversation.
Yeah.
And that they've worked on this, but he's struggling with new kids, not generalizing here. Any advice for that?
Well, I mean, generalization is a really, really big part of this. And I don't know that it's with new kids or with different topics, or if it's just when he's not prompted. But, you just have to practice that and model it. And with a couple of days ago, I was answering some questions on Instagram, I think, and somebody was asking me and saying that their team of ABA therapists changes constantly, and whether or not this is good. And honestly, it is a good thing for generalization, but it's not necessarily a good thing for acquisition. Yeah. So when your child is in a new phase of learning, you want to make sure they have the same team of people. But when it's at the point where you want them to be able to do the task they've already mastered with lots of different people, then that's when you want to have different kids, different therapists, and so on. And believe me, our kids do eventually learn it. You just have to focus on it and practice it more.
If you found anything helpful in this video, please give us a like. In fact, make sure that you smash that subscribe button on YouTube and give us a like on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram for important updates. And please download our free podcast wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.
To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.
Don't forget, you can watch Ask Dr. Doreen live every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time on autismnetwork.com. We hope to see you there.